Very good. Well, I will call the Monday, October 21st meeting of the Community Preservation Committee to order. Are we ready to go on the video?
All set.
Thank you very much. I'll read the notice on video. This meeting of the Community Preservation Committee is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting and to please make their presence known. No one's recording? I'll call the roll. Terry Duenas?
Here.
Deb Converse? Tom Lee?
Yeah, here.
Barley Lewis?
Here.
Steve Robichaud?
Here.
Lindsay Council's here. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda is approval of the draft Community Preservation Committee regular meeting minutes from September 16th, 2024. Any changes, additions to that? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I need to abstain.
Terry will be
taking the
abstaining.
vote yet. I'm sorry.
Then we won't be able to vote as we lack a quorum.
Damn.
So we'll see if
Ellen.
Deb Converse is able to join us. We can take that up later.
Alan raised her hand. Yep.
All right, very good.
I believe that Ellen wanted to speak, but she was muted.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. I was able to say that already that Deb was trying to sign on, and we can come back to the minutes just as Lindsay had said. That will work.
Okay.
Okay, very
Thank you.
good. So we'll continue on with the agenda. The letters of intent, none were received. Under applications, an application has been received from the Federated Church of Hyannis, 320 Main Street, Hyannis, map 327, parcel 074, requesting $165,000 in community preservation, historic preservation funds to conserve 270 gravestones in the Universalist Cemetery that were identified in the 2024 condition assessment prepared by Fannin Leher Preservation Consultant. The Federated Church owns the land where the cemetery lies and provides meeting space for several nonprofit groups. The cemetery is listed on the State Register of Historic Places and has an existing preservation restriction recorded. The church will donate $1,000 with in-kind donations from volunteers providing ongoing research and management. And I believe we have Pam Brown here to represent the church.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you and good evening. On May 20th.
Sorry, excuse me, Pam, would you like me to pull up the slides, or would you like to share those on your end?
Sure, you can pull up the first slide if you like.
Okay. If you could just let me know when to advance. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I presented my letter of intent, and I really appreciate your votes to move this project forward. I will try not to repeat what you heard from me at the May meeting. I understand that $165,000 is a big ask. It's a big project. And 3 conservators have submitted proposals. I believe that a phased project approach would have generated less interest and would drag the work out unnecessarily. The top 2 conservators visited the cemetery in September and October They're both very knowledgeable and called the project very straightforward with nothing very complicated. Both are from Connecticut and want to work in the off-season, mainly because they recognize that lodging and expenses will be lower and traffic not as much of an issue. The third conservator, who's from Massachusetts, has not visited the site and cannot begin any work until 2027. So I ruled out that proposal. Since submitting the application to you last week, I have received an updated proposal from Martin Johnson of Monument Conservation Collaborative, stating that he can, in fact, complete the project at a guaranteed price of $165,000. I have a slide right here to show you a comparison of the top two conservators. So the question 6 attachment in the application needs to be updated accordingly, including the order of preference, because we now have two very similar proposals. So this slide is a comparison. The first line, Atlas Preservation is run by Jonathan Appel, and Monument Conservation Collaborative is run by Martin Johnson. And I refer to them as MCC. The $165,000 is the same for both conservators. They're both going to do the same number of stones, and per the plan laid out in the condition assessment. Atlas, Jonathan, thinks he may be able to complete the job in 1 year in 2025, in a spring and a fall session, but it also he said it could carry over to 2026. MCC Martin anticipates it will carry over to the spring of 2026. So starting in the spring of 2025 and finishing up in the spring of 2026. They bill a little bit differently. Atlas, Jonathan is billing 25% after each part of that job is done. So it's approximately 41,250 times 4. And he doesn't require an upfront deposit. MCC Martin Johnson does require a deposit of 10%. That would be $16,500, and will hold back the final payment of another 10% until I have received everything, all the documentation and everything after the job is complete. And he anticipates billing every 2 months during the spring and fall based on the percentage of stones completed. Now, Atlas, Jonathan, has added a couple of things. He has said he would clean all of the stones in the cemetery, not just the 270 stones that need conservation. Now, there are over 350 stones. Not all of them need to be cleaned. And I will say that the other conservator, Martin, did say he may clean additional stones, particularly if they're in an area that's been conserved where everything looks much better, and then you have one stone that just looks lousy because it hasn't been cleaned, and he would go ahead and clean that. And the other add-on from Atlas, Jonathan, is that he would provide 16 carved stones. They would be square, set about a foot off the ground, I think he said, and they would be engraved with the section identification. In this case, it's A, B, C, and D. And I'm going to show you more about that in the next slide, please. So the cemetery is laid out in 4 sections. I know this is hard to read, but A and B are the closest to the church, and they're separated by the path that runs north to south down the cemetery, and it's the path that was used for horse-drawn hearses, and it's still used. Vehicles can get in there, like our lawn mowing people, and the conservators can get in there. So it's A and B separated by the path, and then C and D also separated by the path. Next slide, please. So this is what we were originally given by a conservator who started the job. These went up in around 2019, but they've all not withstood the weather and so forth. So these stone markers would be very nice to have. And next. Oh, this slide I included because in the second reference for Atlas preservation, when I did the scanning, it didn't show up in the package that you got. Those pictures were not visible. So these are the two pictures that you weren't able to see, and it's an example of work that Jonathan Appel did in Kentucky on a collapsed vault. Next slide, please. To go back to that for a second, it's just he's worked on a lot of large scale projects like that. And, the client wanted to share this with you as being a really significant example. Okay, next slide. All right, the next few slides are before and after photos of conservation that was done over the summer by Fannin Lanner Preservation Consultants. And this is one family. Their name is Johnson. There's a mother, father, and baby. And the stones are from 1850. The mother and child died in 1850, and the father died in 1863. And if you look at the one on the right, that it's in two pieces, and it was basically underground. So next slide. This is what they look like now after conservation. So they're readable. The footstones are in the back. They're smaller, and they also are readable. They have the initials of the folks buried. And next slide. I'm going to show you 3 steps that were involved in this project. Next slide. This is the excavation and cleaning of that stone that was underground in 2 pieces. And next slide. This is where they're attaching the top and bottom. And next slide, they're setting it in the base. So I know these guys said this isn't complicated, but we have a lot of stones similar to that. To me, it's complicated, but I guess to them, it's not that complicated. And the next 2 slides show how much more work there is to do. So again, the next slide is a little bit more of that. And then the final slide is, this is the first cemetery tour that I gave on September 29th. And this was for people of the church. There were about 12 people. And a second tour was given on October 12th. Also, about 12 people came from the community. And a third tour is scheduled for Friday, October 25th at 3 p.m., also open to the community. So that's the end of my presentation, that slide. I have been struggling because I just received this updated proposal that matches the price and everything. And it's really difficult to choose between these 2 very competent and well-respected conservators. And I've been looking at it all day long, and I'll tell you, it's not an easy decision. So I don't know what your feeling is on it, if I could have any more time to make that decision, if I have to have the decision to you tonight. We have a choice of 2 conservators to do this work for this amount of money. They have very similar technical capabilities, very similar work experience, similar timeframes. One worked with a founding conservator, that was Monument Conservation Collaborative. It was founded by a fellow named Irving Slavid, who was highly respected. He retired and Martin Johnson took over, but Martin worked under him and with him for many years. But each of these guys has about 20 years experience working on their own. And their project approach is very similar. They both see it as very straightforward. And the total price, as you saw, the price is the same, but there are a couple add-ons with Jonathan from Atlas. And if you read through the reviews, you would see that, I mean, they're both highly, highly recommended. And their terms and conditions are pretty similar. So it's where I stand right now. It's a dilemma. It's kind of I feel fortunate that we have a couple of people really interested in this project. And because for a while, they were both kind of late getting their proposals in, and I wasn't sure that I'd have them. So it's kind of a good dilemma. I just have to come to some sort of a decision. So with that, I would entertain any questions, comments, suggestions.
All right. Thank you very much, Pamela. I do want to say I did attend the second tour, and if you can make it for the next one, you really have to see this. And the amount of work that's been done already is amazing. It's really a very unique space, and it's really exciting to see the possibilities going forward. In terms of the choice of a contractor, we don't need that decision tonight. And we generally, with something this close, I don't know what the members think, and they can chime in a minute, but I think we'd leave that to you. Of course, we'd love to get marker stones for the sections, because that really then allows folks who are looking for a relative or a specific stone to locate it. So that's what I know about that. So any questions from members for Pam? Stephen?
My only question is the process that either contractor would perform, is there any part of that process at the end that applies any sort of protectant product, like a clear coat or some sort of product that would help to keep the item in good condition? Do you happen to know that?
I don't think there's anything that such as what you're suggesting. The cleaner that they use, this chemical called D2, does help to preserve the stone for a period of time. It also works over time. They'll spray it on right at the beginning, and without brushing it or anything, the stone will start to clean up itself, and it will continue doing that over a period of months, that it will improve the appearance over a period of months. But other than that, no, there's nothing that they seal, they don't seal it with anything at the end. That's pretty much standard procedure. Good question.
Yeah, no, thank you. And certainly if the level of work and the quality of contractor is equal, of course, having those markers, those stone markers, does seem like a big plus. I'll echo what Lindsay said there. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And plus having all the stones cleaned, if this cleaning solution was applied to all of them.
Yeah.
And you're now saying they improve in time just by a simple cleaning. That's pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
Molly?
Yep. Just wondering if these two companies are so close in price and and they're both anxious to get the work, do you think that they would maybe one of them might come down in price? You know, if you said this could be the decisive factor?
A good question, but I'm very sure that the answer is no. In fact,
No.
they
Okay.
struggled with how they were going to be able to do it at that price.
Okay.
Especially because they have to pay for lodging, transportation, lodging, meals of the crew that comes. And I don't think either one of them really knows exactly how much that's going to cost.
Okay.
And my hope is that they're going to be able to, that they're not going to lose on this project. But the one that just came in late last night, he wasn't sure he could do it for that price. He was really agonizing over it. But he finally came in and said, yes, he would do it. He really wants the job. So they both seem to be really eager to take it on.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Tom Lee.
I cannot make any comment in terms of the performance from the company. That's not my forte. The only comment that I want to make is, according from what you're showing me in terms of the MCC, you pay 10% deposit, but then at the end, you kind of hold it until you receive all the documentation before you make the final payment. I like that arrangement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say.
Good point. Terry.
I just have a question, Lindsay. A number of years back, did we have a similar proposal from the church on cleaning up the stones? And I don't remember what happened to that project. Was it the one that they pulled back on from doing it? Is this the same? It's the Federated Church, right?
You might be thinking about the proposal for the study. We had to do the investigation first.
Okay.
And that has been completed. That's why it's a 150-page application. That's all contained in the materials. So the identification and location of the stones has been completed. Now this is the restoration.
Great.
And also the first grant covered fencing, some completed fencing, some newer fencing.
Correct.
And my one other comment that the $1,000 donation or component that the church is going to contribute, it's great, but it's a very small portion of the whole project. And that's the only thing that I'm reluctant on, because I think this is a great, certainly a great project. But the fact that it's only $1,000 towards the $165,000 cost is rather slim.
I hear you.
My only thought is what is not included is an estimate of the volunteer hours that have gone into this. There's been hundreds and hundreds of hours. So I would just counter that Pam has put in time. She's had a team of at least 3 or 4 volunteers, I think, working with you, Pam.
No, I've had one, actually.
One?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought it was more than that, but I think, given the time and to get a complete restoration, I'm actually surprised it's not that high, really. I thought it was going to be considerably higher. I was actually, really sort of betting that it would be something that we would have to reach out for other funds. But I think for 320 stones to get them propped up, restored, cleaned.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of you math whizzes could do that per stone average, but when you look at it, it's not a lot of money. Chris.
Thank you very much, Chair Council. It occurred to me, I was wondering if there was a benefactor from the church, perhaps someone who may have be going to Florida for the winter, that might be able to provide housing or temporary housing at a cheaper rate than our local hotels. I'm wondering if that would work on the expense side to bring it down. Just thinking out loud.
Good suggestion.
Yeah, I only know of one. First of all, the church membership is very small at this point. And there's one couple that I know of who go to Florida, but they've just sold their home here.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Well, maybe you could reach out to the hotel across the street, and they could give you
A deal.
a bargain deal there in
Yeah,
one of
and
their rooms.
And they probably could get a tax write-off for contributing to the church.
Good suggestion there.
Yeah, providing a a need, and yet as a donation of services, off season they might be able to get some income, whereas off season they might not get as much, or maybe write a note to the Catuit Civic Association. What village are we in?
Hyannis.
Hyannis. I'm sorry, the Greater Hyannis Civic Association, and maybe they have some ideas. And they might reach out to some of the hotels there too. Just an idea to alleviate the expense that I can understand why they would want to do it off season, and that's a great plan. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, less traffic and less interferences, but perhaps that could work towards you. There will probably be over the winter underutilized places to stay. Just an idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Particularly where it'll be long-term. I mean, this is going to be a long-term relationship. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions? Anyone out there from the public who wants to speak to this application? Seeing none. Anyone have a motion that they might put forward? I would suggest that on the funding part of it, we say that take the monies first from the Historic Preservation Fund, and any remainder over the amount available there would be taken from the undesignated. Anyone?
Tom, you want it?
Sure, why not? Let me make a motion to approve this projects. To approve these projects, the initial funding would be coming out from the from the historic preservations, and then the balance coming out from the undesignated amount.
Is there a second? Terry seconds it. Any further discussion?
Did we mention the dollar? Did we mention the dollar amount in the motion?
No, we should. The dollar amount is $165,000.
Isn't it 164,000 because the church is giving 1,000?
Correct, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
164,000. Very good. Any other discussion on the motion? Everyone understands what we're voting on? Okay. I'll call the roll. Terry Duenas?
Yes.
Deb Converse? You're muted, Deb. Deb, you're still muted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tom Lee?
Yes.
Farley Lewis?
Yes.
Steve Robichaud?
Yes.
And Lindsay Council votes yes. Thank you very much, Pam. We'll keep you posted on the schedule for the town council for final approval. That'll be 2 meetings as well. We have a first reading and then the final hearing. And your presentation will be greatly received there, I think, as well.
Thank
I
you.
I just should mention that I wouldn't be surprised if somebody from the town council asked you a question about finding some cheaper lodging as a contribution from the church side of things. Just you might want to have that answer in your hip pocket should it rise. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, I'd like to go back and approve the minutes from the September meeting. Approval of the draft Community Preservation Committee regular meeting minutes from September 16th, 2024. Any questions, changes to those? Seeing none, all members in favor of approving the September meeting minutes? Terry Duenas?
Abstain.
We've got 5 members, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we have enough members.
Yep.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Steve Robichaud,
Yes.
and Lindsay Council votes yes. Okay. Back to the regular agenda. Correspondence that we have received is a report on the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund activities relating to the award of community preservation funds for the end of fiscal year 2023. Then we did receive the letter from the Barnstable Fire District Water Department withdrawing their letter of intent and further interest in acquiring the Oakmont Road property, that was 153 Oakmont, for future well sites. That project, we'll keep looking at that for open space. We can talk about that in a minute. We did get the active CPA accounts as of September 24th, 2024. We also, let's see, is this where we wanted to cover the withdrawal of those funds? No, we'll do that in the project updates. We got an email from the Planning and Development Department regarding opening a public comment on the local comprehensive plan draft future land use map. And those comments will be accepted through October 23rd. So if you want to look at the current map that we're proposing from the local comprehensive planning committee, make your comments on that through October 23rd. And we did receive an informal inquiry received from Cape Cod Toy Library for funding for a permanent location for their community play, learning center, and resource library. We have run that through the town legal department, and they had asked for funds also for work on their building, which is not eligible under the recreation program. But if they were to acquire a piece of land and put their playground forward, they would be eligible. And we sent them that letter you all received. Any questions on any of those? We did also receive some letters of support for the Oakmont Road projects late coming in. Karen Zupko of 39 Salt Rock Road, Carol and Paul Freehoff of 81 Wingfoot Drive, and Wesley Marsh with no address support the Oakmont Road acquisition. And N.K. Jackson with no address wrote a letter that they were more in favor of building housing on those sites. That's what we had for correspondence. Any question on any of those? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into the project updates and discussion. Oakmont Road, Comaquid Properties. The Save Our Comaquid Woods group is continuing to work on their proposal for the smaller parcel out there. I believe Steve Rizzo is here. Did you want to speak to that, Steve?
I'll let you do that.
Hi, well, Steve's here, and I'm Marie Rizzo, and I've been heading the group that is trying to save Comacoot Woods. And we have applied for and received all of the information that we need from the state. We are now a registered nonprofit corporation, which is not to be confused with a 501c3. We have also partnered with the Compact, Mark Robinson, and to be able to, when we're ready to, which hopefully will be soon, to fundraise for amounts through his 501c3 designation. Not sure what else I can add at this point, but we are moving forward and hope to have more progress in the very near future.
All right. Steve, did you want to add anything? No? All right. And regarding the other parcel, the Cobb Trust parcel at the other end of the street, 87 Oakmont, that property is currently listed with Cary Commercial for sale at $850,000. That's considerably over what our appraisal of $700,000 is. So I've been working with the Compact Cape Cod Conservation Trust. We'd have to find some grant money or something if we were to make an offer on that. So that's ongoing. Any questions on that one? We did check in with Mark Marinaccio, and progress is being made on the Centerville and Osterville playground projects. I believe they're looking at possibly getting those started this spring. I think those would be really great to get underway. And we did touch bases with him for your list of open accounts. All of the projects, Old Town Hall, and the rest of them are all in the works. New staff has come on over at Structures, and he will begin putting some of those projects out to bid. Mass DOT has put out to bid, and we're awaiting the actual contractor to be named for Phase 3 of the Cape Cod Rail Trail that will go from Peter Homer Park in Yarmouth to Mary Dunn Road. Bids closed October 1st, and I'm sure they're looking those over, and hopefully we'll be looking at a start sometime this winter for that one. We have ordered an appraisal for the 10.5 acres located at 304 Putnam Avenue. That's the Montero property. The town is working with the Barnstable Land Trust on acquisition of that. I believe the large majority of that property will be used for expansion of Mosswood Cemetery. Just how much that will be, the town hasn't determined, but they are, I believe the town would take the lead in that acquisition, and then later we may see something regarding open space on that one. And they have also been looking at any possibility for a housing project there. The Historical Society of Santuit and Cotuit's Phase 2 work application has been scheduled for a public hearing this Thursday, October 24th. I'll be attending, and it'll be great to get that moved forward and finish that one. Funds for the acquisition of 211 Cedar Tree Neck Road have been returned to the CPA fund. That property was purchased by a private party, so it will not be an expansion to the marina there. And we did hear back from the Compact regarding their land and water grant requests, and state grants have been awarded to 2 Barnstable projects, partially funded by CPA open space funds. That is the Smith's Creek acquisition. $200,000 was awarded to Orenda, and the Santuit Woodlands acquisition, $295,000 was awarded to the Barnstable Land Trust. So we'll look forward to closings relatively soon on those 2 projects, and that's really great news. They believe there were 7 projects requested through the Compact to the state for grants, and all 7 were awarded funding. Unfortunately, and I was speaking to someone recently about this, the way this grant cycle works, the awards are now. So now they'll begin to award those funds, but the application period's open. So for a land acquisition project now to be considered for grant funding, those funds aren't available for almost a year. So it's not a rolling situation. So it puts us in a bit of a bind for someone who's looking for a quicker sale and waiting till next September or October. So anyway, update on grants. The next discussion we had was the closing a couple of accounts that we have. As I mentioned, the 211 Cedar Tree Neck Road has already been returned. The other one that we'd like to close is the Katuitt Federated Church, the $179,369. That project is done, and we've made our successful case that they were ineligible. And the other one would be the Little League restrooms. They have, they're not going forward with that. They chose to repair the lights at the field. So I checked with Chris Canella over Community Services, and that's not going forward, and that's $200,000 that could be returned. So if we have any questions on that, if not, a motion to close those accounts, that would be great. Any questions? Anyone have a motion?
I'll make a motion to close those accounts that Lindsay just mentioned.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. I'll read the roll. Harry Duenas,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yes.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Stephen Robichaud,
Yes.
and Lindsay Council votes yes. All right. The next and the last item on the agenda, how do you want to do the meeting for November?
Lindsay, just a note, I'm unable to attend the next meeting on the 18th.
Okay. Stephen will be out for that. You want to stick with the remote? Everyone still happy with that?
Yes.
Works
Yes.
for me.
I think so.
All right, we'll do it remotely again. And we'll note that Steve in November will not be here, but let us know well in advance if you can't make it. We're still two members short. Tom Lee understands that one member has been moved to the council for approval from the Recreation Committee, and we still need a replacement for Marilyn Fifield from Historic.
Right.
Okay, any other items we missed? Anything in updates that's not clear? Do we have any public comment? Anyone would like to speak to anything related to the committee? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All members in favor, Terry Duenas,
Yes.
Deb Converse,
Yep.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
Farley Lewis,
Yes.
Stephen Robichaud,
Yes.
and Lindsay Council votes yes. Thank you very much, folks.